this time of year. It's just the way it goes. With 23 bills above the line today, we are going to be busy all day. So I'm very happy that one of those is a tax bill. So committee, I'm going to open up discussion actually on, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball, not much, because we did talk about it. Senate Bill 282. Amelia, would you give us an overview?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill number 282 would establish 3 income tax credits relating to graduates of aerospace and aviation-related educational programs and employers of such program graduates. As you recall, there were 3 new tax credit provisions, and they were for a term of 5 years.
Thank you, Amelia. So it did sunset in 5 years. Okay. Committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Seeing nothing, we'll move on. Oh, Senator Clays.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee recommends Senate Bill 282 favorably for passage.
It's been moved and seconded by Senator Hall, moved by Senator Clay, seconded by Senator Holland. Discussion on the bill. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Would you like to be recorded? Motion carries. Thank you, committee. Committee, I'll turn your attention to, let's pick up where we left off on 2143, sales tax bill. Amelia, would you give us an overview of where we're at on that bill?
Yes, Madam Chair. House Bill number 2143 related to retailer sales tax and originally would have removed the sunset of the exclusion of certain cash rebates by motor vehicle manufacturers from the sales or selling price. So far, this committee, when working this bill, has sunsetted this provision in another 3 years. That's the first amendment. Secondly, there was an amendment to include KSA 793606 with the language of the exemption balloon for House Bill 2104. And that was an exemption for certain construction materials relating to educational institutions of the Cerebral Palsy Research Foundation of Kansas and Multi-Community Diversified Services in McPherson. And then third, there was an amendment to insert the contents of Senate Bill 233 as amended.
And that amendment would be?
Yes, Senate Bill 233 was the sales tax, the sales tax returns and remittance by retailers. It would increase the sales tax collection thresholds. And the amendment to 233 was the discontinuation of the prepayment provisions.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions? Committee, what are your wishes on this bill? Senator Alley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move we pass out House Bill 2143.
Favorably as amended. Thank you. Is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Alley, seconded by Senator Clays. Discussion on the motion. Committee, there is a fiscal note that was handed out. I would like to draw your attention to it. It seems like an exorbitantly high fiscal note, but what this does is instead of paying estimated sales tax, businesses would now pay actual sales tax. And when they're facing a shutdown that they had in 2020, it is more important than ever that those sales tax are on actual sales, not estimated sales. And so, in a sense, this is actually a COVID relief bill. I would consider it as such. Any other questions or comments on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. No, 87 was separate. It was its own bill. Thank you, committee. I'll turn your attention now to Senate Bill 149. Would you like to give us an overview of where we are on the bill?
Certainly, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 149 provides that the owner of a building with a business on the premises would be entitled to submit an application to the county for reimbursement of property taxes for the time the business was shut down or limited in capacity. The original bill would have commenced with tax year 2020, and it would have been limited to orders by the county government. There was an amendment yesterday, and there was a balloon that changed the effective date to on and after April 1st of 2021, and also expanded the bill to include not only orders by the county government, but also the state, city, and other political subdivisions, and also a split of the reimbursement between the owner and operator if the owner is not the operator of the business. It also included a reimbursement provision such that the entity that ordered the shutdown or limitation in capacity would reimburse the county for the reimbursement to the owner or operator.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions for Amelia? Senator Corson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to be completely clear in my own head. So this is only for any orders or restrictions that are in effect starting on April 1st of this year. It has nothing to do with looking backwards, correct?
Amelia, I think that would be correct. I just was going to comment about in your own head, if you, Senator. Thank you, Amelia.
Yes, the provisions of this amendment that was passed yesterday specifically provides that the provisions of this section shall be applicable on and after April 1st of 2021.
Thank you, Amelia. I'm sorry, Senator. I have a very dry sense of humor, so thank you for the question. Committee, any other questions for Amelia? What are your wishes on the bill? Do you want to offer? Senator Steff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment. Oh, don't make assumptions. Would you please? This amendment kind of clarifies on the first page exactly the amount of time and days that would be covered by the bill. The thought being that 1/12, working in a month, that kind of gets in, did the shutdown occur on the 30th? Did it occur on the 1st? And so we thought to kind of clarify that, clean it up, if we broke it down to actual calendar days to derive some of the ultimate figures from, it'd be cleanest, sharpest, and most fair.
And just for clarification, this would be the days that they were actually closed because of a government district or governing body requesting a shutdown.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Committee, any questions on the amendment? Senator Holland?
Shut down or altered, right?
Correct.
Senator Stefan, thank
Oh,
you.
sorry.
No, that's fine. Yes, and the committee, I think there's another amendment coming also that it would only be in a declaration of an emergency, so that if you're shut down because of health reasons or some other reason, then this would not apply. Committee, any other questions? Senator Holland?
So do we have Amelia or Katie Ware on the line or something? Because I guess I want to run a question by them.
Sure. Amelia?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. And so I guess to the carrier of the amendment, just so I'm kind of tracking with this, we could probably, when I say we, the department could probably lay this out as far as if the department or some state entity would look at any, say, state-issued orders and then look at the respective, the county orders as well. You could basically map out, have one person do that. And so basically, the Department of Revenue or somebody could do that. And so that when somebody submitted a claim, you would automatically know basically what days they were entitled to based upon the location of their business. Would that be correct?
Senator Stefan?
Thank you. I think so. I think it should be very trackable.
Okay, so I think what we don't want to have happen is that if we could lay this out in some manner, that at least centrally, then they know what people are allowed to claim as a rebate or whatever we want to term it, without everybody having to independently submit paperwork and justification for these were the days and this is because so-and-so said this and that. Then would that be the thought process possibly here?
Senator Stefan?
Thank you. Well, I think that's a little farther down the line than I had thought. I think originally my concept was that each individual owner or operator would have to submit the claim. But I do think ultimately you could work it backwards.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Holland?
So, Madam Chair, so what I'm thinking here is that basically we could have a business say just submit a claim, but not have to specifically document the specific dates of, I mean, I suppose they could, but the point is that we would have the dates of outages at least as proclaimed by the mandates of the orders. And so it would be a lot less onerous on the person, the claimant. They would just have to attest that, hey, we were shut down these days because of whatever, and then, okay, I understand. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Committee, any other questions? Thank you. Committee, what are your wishes on the amendment? Senator Stefan?
I'd like to make the motion that we pass this amendment out favorably.
Is there a second on the, it's been moved by Senator Stefan, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm going to ask the revisor again if they have had any thought on the definition of limited capacity.
Amelia? Should we clarify that with the conceptual amendment?
if you want to clarify what is meant by limited or capacity limitation, if you want to define it further than leaving it up to, the Board of County Commissioners to make that determination, then you can do so. I would ask that you provide, what it is you are requesting, what that definition would look like.
Senator Alley.
Well, let me just give you what my concern is, and then we'll talk about what the definition might look like. My concern is a restaurant A has a capacity in their dining room of 50 people. Because of the COVID and because of the restrictions placed on them, they now have 25 is all they can get in their dining room. Do they get, under this definition, do they get a property tax relief?
Amelia?
The wording in the bill is limited in any capacity from conducting operations.
So that would be a yes. Thank you.
So then what if the restaurant B right next to them decides, I feel a lot safer not opening my dining room and I do all mine carry out? That's a decision that is by the owner of the restaurant. However, they do have limited capacity. Do they get property tax relief?
Amelia, I think that they could
language of
apply
the bill-
for it. I think they can apply for it, and it would be up to the discretion of the Department of Revenue, the interpretation. Amelia, did you want to respond?
I can just tell you that the language of the bill is that it's limited in any capacity from conducting operations by the state, county, city, or other political subdivision of the state.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yep.
So it'd be yes. Okay, thank you. Senator Stefan?
And I agree, thank you. I think if a business wants to cut their own throat, let them. I do have another amendment. That was helpful. I will pass out to, thank you. And I'm sure Amelia will want to jump in and help me explain this, but it does go, it's at the bottom left in the blueprint. It goes to clarify that this is when there is a clear executive order, county order, city order declared, or state of disaster, emergency declared, that this goes into effect.
Thank you, Senator. And for clarification, the language, the rest of this is also included in your amendment to make sure that we, or
Madam
was that a
Chair.
previous? Yes, thanks, Amelia.
Madam Chair, just for clarification, since this was prepared by the Office of the Reviser, I just want to clarify that the balloon that has been handed out, the new language is what is shown in blue in the bottom left-hand side. The rest of the balloon on the right and the date is merely a copy of the balloon that was adopted yesterday. This was just for illustration purposes, so you could see where that language would fall within that new language. It would be after the state, county, city, or other political subdivision of the state pursuant to an executive order.
Thank you, Amelia. Thank you for the clarification. Are there any questions? Or let's go ahead and move on the amendment. Do you want to make your motion?
I move that we pass this amendment forward favorably.
Thank you. Senator, is there a second? I'll second the motion. Okay, it's been moved by Senator Stefan, seconded by Senator Clays. Discussion on the motion. Senator Holland.
No, I just had a question for Amelia. I just want to be sure. Amelia, so the boxes on the right side here, is this still all in? And so basically, when Senator Stephan offered his 1/365 in calendar days, that was just basically just, this isn't the current status of the bill, right? This was just putting in those 4 changes?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, yes, you are correct, Senator Holland. The previous motion relating to the calendar days, it was difficult to get it to fit in as a further amendment. So the purpose was on the calendar days, those 2 sentences were not amended by the previous amendment. So this is so it's showing it on the original 149, just so you can see where it would fit in it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Committee, any other discussion on the motion? On the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. So committee, I think are there any other amendments on the retros, on the going forward? Okay, I just want to be clear where we're at. I know Senator Stephan has another amendment. Would you like to hand that out?
Thank
Senator
you.
Stephan?
I would love to. This amendment does take SB 149 retroactive, and I think it would be in everybody's best interest if I let Amelia describe it.
Thank you, Senator. Amelia?
Could you tell me what the document was that was handed out?
Thank
Can
you.
you
It says
describe it?
March 30th, 2021 draft, prepared by the Reviser of Statutes, SB 149.
And the first line begins,
Subject to availability of monies in COVID-19. Thank you.
thank you. I just want to make sure I'm on the right one. Thank you. This is a draft. I believe there was some discussion yesterday related to Senate Bill 202 and Section 2 of that particular bill. This proposed new Section 2, it actually should read new Section 2 there. This is a draft. It was, this would be a new section, and it would provide for an income tax credit in the amount of the tax liability, or actually, let me start over. It would provide an income tax credit for tax years 2020 and 2021, subject to the availability of monies in a new fund that would be created. The tax credit would be for an individual taxpayer in an amount equal to 50% of their property tax on residential property. When the taxpayer is a citizen of the U.S., a resident of the state of Kansas, owns the residential property, that property is the individual's primary residence, and the taxpayer lost employment, including self-employment, as a result of a COVID-19 related order or action imposed by the state, county, or city that was in effect during at least part of the taxable year. Residential property would include both real property and personal property, mobile homes and manufactured homes. The total amount of the credit could not exceed $1,000 per year, and it would be limited to 1 credit per property. If the amount of the credit exceeded the taxpayer's income, it could be refunded. There's a process that there's provisions to allow the Secretary of Revenue to establish a claims process for the refund of the credits. Also, there would be the creation of the COVID-19 Residential Property Tax Relief Claims Fund to be administered by the Secretary of Revenue. It would be used to pay these income tax credits or refunds. It also, in subsection I, provides for the use of federal government coronavirus relief aid, that $100 million be transferred into the new COVID-19 Residential Property Tax Relief Claims Fund. And this would be a part of and supplemental to the Kansas Income Tax Act.
Thank you. Let's see if I have this straight. Basically, it earmarks $100 million of CARES Act money that would then potentially go to owners of residential property in Kansas who had lost their job from the pandemic response. And it caps that at $1,000. It's kind of a 50%, 50% of their property tax up to a maximum of $1,000. And that's basically it in short, correct?
Amelia? Amelia, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Amelia, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I apologize. That is correct. And I do want to point out that it would be subject to the availability of the monies in the fund. So it would be subject to the actual appropriation into the fund.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing in this bill that I've seen will go to a renter. Is that correct?
Senator Stephan. Do you want me to ask Amelia?
Yeah, we had talked about that, and yeah, let's get.
Amelia?
That'd be great.
Thank you. Sorry.
I can't remember the phrasing of the question, but the provisions as it currently reads does not include renters. The taxpayer must own the property.
And thank you, Senator. We could entertain a motion after in order to address it as we did in the other portion of the bill. And committee, the reason this is only homeowners is because I think the intent is that SB 286 is going to be considered for businesses. So we're allowing that. We don't want to duplicate or interfere with any of that process going on. So this is for homeowners only. Senator Holland.
Okay, so just so I'm clear here. I thought 149 was our 286 equivalent for businesses.
Thank you, Senator. 286 is dealing with in the past, and this would deal with going forward.
Okay, so, but I want to be sure, so basically we have really two stakeholders now. Is that where we're going with this? The 149 deals with businesses, April, whatever, 1st, 2021, and then we're talking homeowners?
Homeowners that were unemployed as a result of the COVID shutdown.
And this would be retroactive, though, back to tax year 2020? Or what are we thinking?
Amelia, is that correct? 2020? Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, and Madam Chair, do we have a fiscal note on this? I guess right now, do we have a fiscal note on either of these?
Eddie, I'm not sure. They were putting together some estimates. Were we able to get information on that?
We are not able to estimate the amount of this tax credit. What we did provide, and I believe this has been one of the documents that Michael passed out for the committee this morning that came from me, is kind of some relevant information for you all to consider in this. And that is, the number of unemployed persons year over year difference, the average amount, the average residential parcel value in the state, the average statewide mill levy, things like that you can kind of use to think about what the fiscal estimate might be. But there's just too much uncertainty in our ability to too much uncertainty in a number of those factors for us to be able to quantify a specific estimate, specifically as it relates to whether the individuals who were laid off were laid off as a result of a COVID-19 related order, whether those individuals are in fact homeowners, whether their property taxes are on the higher end or lower end of those statewide averages. There's just a lot of uncertainty in all of those variables, and so we're not able to quantify an estimate for the committee.
Thank you,
Our office is.
Eddie.
If Kathleen wants to speak otherwise, she'd be welcome to, but
Yes, thank you, Eddie. I was going to ask Kathleen if you had any comments.
Madam Chair, Kathleen Smith with the Kansas Department of Revenue. We have looked at the issue, and we would agree with Eddie. At this point, we just do not have that information. And it would take a lot of research to try and come up with something.
Thank you, Kathleen. And so what we did in this, or I shouldn't speak for the senator, but the amendment has $100 million in the funds as an estimate to start with. Senator Holland?
But that's just the residential piece, right?
Yes, there's no business piece in this.
When I was looking at Eddie's run for the business, and I have a lot of questions about that, but it looked like that was like, what, $1.3 billion? The commercial property taxes paid?
Yes, well, the run that I got was, yes, that is correct on the number, approximately 700 and I can't remember, 50,000 or 700. It was approximately 700,000 over businesses, entities in 2018. So if we capped it at 1,000, worst case, it would be approximately 100 million for businesses. Senator Holland.
Madam Chair, just so I understand, can we not retroactively go back and give something to businesses as part of 149 if we want to?
Senator, we absolutely could. I would just ask that we put a clause in that they're not double dipping.
No, that's fine. But I would just, one of the things that I guess as part of the 286 discussion, which we're no longer part of, I would like to see a bill wherever it is, and I hope we could do that, that would provide some retroactive relief for businesses back for tax year 2020. I was hoping this could be a vehicle to do.
Senator, let's do this then. Let's dispose of the amendment before us, and then we'll come back to a conceptual amendment for you. How's that?
Very good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Senator Stephan. Senator Corson.
Couple kind of all bundled questions, but I mean, one is, do we know that we have $100 million in unencumbered federal funds? Senator Stephan said CARES funds. I wasn't sure if you meant CARES funds or if you meant American Recovery Act funds. And then finally, are we confident that we can legally use, if we have $100 million in unencumbered funds, are we confident that we can legally use them in this manner? Have lawyers, have other people looked at it and said, if this is a policy decision, but if you want to use that federal money that way, you were allowed to do it? Have we gotten that kind of sign off or clearance?
Thank you, Senator. Amelia, would you mind addressing that?
In the bill, the language is that the monies are from the federal government for coronavirus relief aid to the state of Kansas that may be expended at the discretion of the state and are unencumbered. And there would still need to be an appropriation of the money. So it might be recommended to look at the time of that appropriation to make sure that that it is allowable and we're not running afoul of the federal requirements.
Thank you, Amelia. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, but basically, if we look at the $100 million set aside for the residential, and it sounds like at least another 100 million, if not more, for the businesses, is that money specifically out there, the federal program that is coming to Kansas? Do we at least know that? And I understand that we would have to appropriate the money to a separate account for this, right? But I mean, is that money out there federally? Do we know that at least?
I am not the appropriations reviser, so I don't think I can answer that question today. I think there are several bills, 286 and other bills out there possibly all proposing to use some of these unencumbered funds. So I don't know exactly where that total may stand.
Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to the amendment, is there a time period or number of months that they are to be unemployed, that they would be eligible?
Thank you, Senator Amelia.
No, in this particular draft, there is no such language.
Thank you. Senator?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are looking at prorating and addressing in a different manner based on closure of businesses, and I think that we have some significant disparity in our state with regard to the length of time that people have been unemployed. I think there were some folks when there was that brief, complete shutdown that then when people weren't required to hunker down at home or back at work, it just seems as if I don't think we have any real accurate data with regard to length of time. I know that we received the data that was provided by Eddie with regard to unemployment statistics. We're 140,000 more unemployed persons than in the previous April and 139,000 more than in the previous March. I'm just wondering if we are going to put some guardrails or address that similar to the way in which we are addressing businesses. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I do know there's a couple of guardrails in here. They must be a Kansas resident. They must be a U.S. citizen. But we could look at the number of time frame for unemployment.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, because I think there are several ways to look at this. One of them might simply be how long it was before they received any unemployment relief through our Department of Labor. That has certainly put a different strain on folks. And we did hear, we've talked about the Restaurant Association some bit, but we have heard from them that there are employees that they have wanted to be back, that they have asked, please come back, and they're not because they're earning more with their unemployment payments. So we have a tremendous disparity of those that are unemployed, that have received unemployment benefits, and those unemployed that are still, we're still getting emails and phone calls as legislators, but from those folks that have not received that assistance that is due to them. So I do see some very uneven situations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Alley.
Does this, we understand that the money here that we're talking about is not going to affect our towns and our counties, our cities and our counties, because it's property tax relief, but yet it's coming off your income tax. However, we do know on the Americans Relief Act, the new one, that the majority of the money is going to the cities and counties directly. And so the concern I would have would be coming up with the 100 million for this, the 100 million for the other, when the majority of the money is going to those counties.
Yes, Senator, and I would have, if Kathleen or Amelia wants to speak to this, but the reasoning was for the efficiency of having the state handle the program. It is in order to put a clause in that the money could be paid back from the counties. But we, under the time frame that we had, this was the language that we landed on. Kathleen or Amelia, would you like to respond? Senator Stephan? Yeah, okay, I think, does that answer your question, Senator? Okay, but that language is certainly in order. Committee, I'm not sure, we've got a few minutes left. It sounds like there may be more questions than solutions with this bill. Yep, Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just, let's talk about mechanics and just the rest of the session. How many more days do we have? Can we work on this before we get it out of committee and still try to do something this session?
Today.
Is this the last day we can work on something in the committee?
Today is the last day we meet.
We can't do anything on the rail or something afterwards, or?
We could, Senator, we could get special permission from the Senate President. There's two ways we could do this, committee. We could put together the best possible piece of legislation for today out of this committee and then work on amendments that we would run across the floor. Or we could keep the bill in committee, work on amendments, and then have a special meeting. I could request it from the Senate President. I'm sure he would do that if we wanted to. And committee, my intent, I'll tell you, was to work House Bill 2313, which was the reserved guard members having the two vehicles, and then coupling this bill with that, as they were both property tax related. That was my intent. But I would like to, we always want to put a product out that we're proud of and that we can support and get behind. So if the committee is more comfortable waiting on passing this legislation out, we absolutely can. It sounds like it does need work. Senator Stephan.
Thank you. Yeah, I do think we got the forward-looking part of it done. And I do think we could couple that to 2313 and be way down the road today. And then I think that would give us some time to bring amendments to the floor if we wanted to, if we chose to do that. I think that's a clean break that makes a lot of sense to move forward with right now.
If the committee's comfortable with that, I absolutely want to do the wishes of the committee. I think that that would be a good product and that it would give us time to look at items. Senator Holland.
I very much want to work with the other members of the committee to get a product out. I really would like to have some more discussion on this before we vote something out, because we have no clue what the fiscal is right now. And quite honestly, I think I would much rather just go back to the counties to reimburse the state directly for some of this stuff, and maybe if we could avoid any references to the federal care stuff, that's what I would prefer to at least look at to see the opportunities for that right now.
Okay, if the committee is willing, I'm willing to meet and to ask for a continuation from the Senate President. I know that your schedules are going to be extremely tight. It probably will not happen until next week. But that would give us time to put some thoughts together. And I would caution the committee for two things. Be very careful of, we'll just make sure that we have meetings scheduled that we can have open discussion. So, Senator Stephan, did you have a comment or question? Okay. Well, I was going to sign off and thank all the staff for their hard work. I'm still going to thank Amelia. You have been stellar, and I just thank you so much. Eddie, your response time has been wonderful. Kathleen, it's been excellent, as always, to work with all of you. I would also thank Michael He's come in brand new to the building and just done a wonderful job. And Pam could not have the success that we do with this committee without all of you. So we will continue meeting. Like I said,
Madam-
this one, yes, Amelia?
Madam Chair, just one moment before you close, I'm sorry.
No, and Amelia, I need to draw the committee's attention back to our nominee for BOTA. Thank you, Senator Holland. Committee, what are your wishes on the nominee? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought the nominee was well qualified for the position as being, the qualification being an attorney on the board. However, with previous nominees, we've had the situation where they have to take continuing education. They had no this nominee had no continuing education that they had done on the particular subject matter. So I would like to make a motion, we pass this nominee out neutral.
Been moved for neutral. Is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Alley, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Discussion on the motion, committee. Senator
Madam
Holland.
Chair.
Yes, Amelia?
Just for clarification on the motion, would that be a motion to report without recommendation?
Yes.
Yes, without recommendation.
Yes, and would you state the three? There's with recommendation, without recommendation, and what is the third? Not recommended. That gets confusing, the without recommendation and the not recommended. Yeah,
Right, then there's a difference between without recommendation and not recommended.
right.
So I interpret the motion as it was just stated was without recommendation.
Yes,
Is that correct?
thank you. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If Senator Alley could clarify, talk to me, I'm not tracking quite on the not having the continuing education on the appraisal credits. Can you bring that back up again? I want to be sure I understand what your concern is.
Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Holland, for that question. Basically, what I'm saying is there's a requirement on the Board of Tax Appeals to have an attorney on the board. This nominee certainly meets those qualifications. What they haven't met, in my opinion, is the qualification to be a board member to discuss BOTA items. They have to take, like our previous, we had one that was previously, she had to take all the testing and all the courses. This nominee also has to take all the testing and all the courses to apply. So that's my concern. And even though she is an attorney, even though she has met that requirement, the requirement to be on BOTA also says you must at least take the courses, not pass them, but take them. And I don't believe that they have taken any courses.
Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so are we being consistent here when we put up the nomination of Virginia Powell? Did we make the same recommendation on her because of that concern, or how did that work?
Amelia, do you remember what the recommendation was on Virginia Powell? Senator Corson.
I believe it was recommended, she was recommended favorably, but I would defer to Amelia. But I guess my point, the reason I have sort of a reservation about kind of what Senator Alley's proposing is that I just think it's the case that simply attorney nominees and CPA accountant nominees are not going to have this background in no instance. It's just kind of a point of fact that they're not going to have taken these appraisal courses before they come to us. The statute, I think, kind of contemplates that they will take them once they are, if they are confirmed. And I think that maybe it'd be more appropriate for this committee, maybe next session, to look at if we want to make changes to the BOTA statute and alter the requirements, I think that that would probably be more appropriate than penalizing this nominee, because again, there are just not going to be other nominees for these positions that are going to have met these qualifications. So I think we're kind of inventing a new bar that this person has to clear when, again, they're not the appraiser on the board, they're the attorney. And if we think that they meet the qualifications we're looking for in an attorney, I think we're being a little bit unfair in saying that, oh, well, you don't have this other standard. It's like saying, why doesn't the appraiser have a legal background, right? And we're just kind of looking at what the statute currently contemplates. And if we want to change that, I think that's something that would be very valid to look at. But I also worry about the kind of nominees that you're going to get if you say before you can even be nominated or considered to be nominated, you've got to go through this really extensive coursework and appraisal before the governor's office can even consider you. They may or may not even put you forward. I just, in talking to the governor's office, I think that we should talk to them, but I would worry that they would kind of see a diminishment in the kind of people who would even want to be considered for this if they knew they first had to go through all of that. So again, I think we're just kind of following what the statute contemplates, and it, as it's currently written, contemplates these three separate positions: appraiser, CPA, attorney. And if we have qualified people for those particular positions, I'm just reluctant to kind of go down this path. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for your explanation of the concern. However, let's assume that there was a position for an attorney and we had an appraiser apply. Would that appraiser be able to do the work as an attorney, or should that attorney, now applying to be on the Board of Tax Appeals, have the background that's required of them to do that? That's my concern, is they're not doing it, and it's that's a concern.
Senator Corson.
Yeah, again, I would just say that we should look at the statute and see if we think that that fits the sort of background and experience that we want. But no, I mean, for the attorney position, I would say that person needs to be an attorney, just like for the appraiser position, that person should be an appraiser. For the CPA position, the person should be a CPA. But I'm not aware of any attorneys who are also appraisers, of any CPAs who are also appraisers. I mean, I think the statute sort of contemplates that you have these three different backgrounds and skill sets working collaboratively together. The legislature at some point decided that that was kind of the right mix of background and experiences that they wanted on BOTA, right or wrong. And so I just, personally, I just don't know any members of the Kansas Bar who are also, experienced in appraisal courses. There probably are some attorneys who are also CPAs, but I don't think there are very many. So
I'm going to have to, we're going to lose our committee members at 10:30. They have prior obligations. Senator Baumgart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think this is an issue of lowering the standard. What we do have is we know that there are attorneys that represent folks that go before BOTA. That was a question that was asked of this applicant, this nominee. Had not represented any before BOTA, admitted that attended one hearing, don't know how long it was, what it was about, but one hearing just, it sounded like a week or two ago, in preparation for the hearing, confirmation hearing with us. I don't think it's asking too much, and this gets back to what we've talked about before. BOTA and the positions within BOTA, that is an issue of working constantly in recruiting folks that are qualified, that are prepared to fill positions. And that has been a problem, as far as I know, for the last 6 years, and I don't know how many years before that. And so that is something that the Appointments Office needs to work on because we know that those are ongoing concerns. Quite frankly, I don't think it is an issue of whether someone is an independent or an unidentified affiliation, a Republican or Democrat. I did have a little bit of concern because it's a non-issue but it took being asked 3 times about changing affiliation and when that actually occurred. All we need is for folks to be forthright in our hearings. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator, any other comments? Senator Holland?
I'll wrap up, Madam Chair. I appreciate committee's patience. It really seems to me that we are inventing new requirements. As the way I understand the statute, okay, if you're non-appraisal for the BOTA, you have to take the appraisal courses and take a test. And now all of a sudden, the committee wants to push this out in front, saying, no, you have to have some, appraisal coursework before you even get considered for that. Is extremely difficult. After we saw, and obviously there are reasons for not supporting the Marks nomination, but after that one got shot down, and if we're going to, have some concerns about this, I'm really wondering what type of candidate we're looking for. I mean, this woman has an incredible amount of real estate background experience. I don't know where it says you have to have experience on BOTA before you go do this stuff. I'm really starting to wonder if we're going to have a problem finding future candidates. I really hope I think we need to recommend this out favorable. And if we want to go back and change the statute for qualifications to get nominated, I think we ought to do it that way. But I don't think this is the way to do it.
We're going to dispose of the motion. Any other discussion? And Senator Corson and Holland, I have heard you loud and clear. We will absolutely pick up this topic and make sure that we do have the correct parameters going forward in statute on nominees. Any other discussion on the nominee and the motion? Senator Corson.
Just real quick in response to what the senator from Miami said, I would just say with Marks, it seemed like he wasn't qualified because he'd done too many BOTA cases and he had too much appraisal experience. And now we're saying the attorney is not qualified because she hasn't done enough BOTA cases. She hasn't been before BOTA enough. So again, I'm just worried a little bit that we're floating around as far as how we're applying this and what we're looking for, because Marks was like he was conflicted because he'd done a lot of those cases.
Thank you. You guys, I am so sorry, but we've got one of our members needs to go chair another committee, and we need to have this vote. Senator Baumgardner.
Madam Chair, a motion to send it out without recommendation is not a statement of unqualified. It is not a statement of unqualified.
Thank you, Senator. Any other discussion on the motion, the nominee? I'm sorry, you guys, we are at the clock. We've got 1 minute. Any brief comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Would you like to be recorded? No. Motion carries. Again, thank you, committee, for your work.